Hello, this is Rich Larson from Watermark Learning. Welcome to the April 2019 session of our IIBA certification chat. We do this every month to answer any questions IIBA certification related, covering all the certifications really, from CBAP to CCBA, ECBA, and IIBA-AAC. It's kind of the order that IIBA released them, and it's kind of the order of popularity or the numbers of people so far, roughly. Anything from the benefits of certification to the application process to learning the BABOK, studying for the exam, exam tips, even recertification if you're interested. So we'll make the recording available after the session. We'll let you know how to access that. And there are handouts. If you'd like a copy of the slides, go to your handout section of your GoToWebinar toolbar and you will find a copy of these slides right there. So hello, Robin from Indiana. Rainy weather. It sounds like rainy a lot of places. Rainy in Mississauga. I think I pronounced that right. I've seen that tons of times. That's in Ontario, right, Ken? Let's see, Marissa in Iowa and raining there too. Cool. Welcome, Cindy and Robin. Robin asks, I take the test next week. Any last minute suggestions? Boy, how much time do you have? I have lots of tips. If I jump ahead to, there's a section of tips in your slides, and this is not complete. This is meant to cover a broad gamut. So what I want to focus on are the last three, let's say, and that is make sure you get plenty of rest. I don't advocate staying up late and cramming. You know, I do advocate keeping on studying right up through the end, even the day before. But I think what most people who fail the exam might suffer from is test anxiety. And what you will do if you're too caught up in that is to interfere with your brain's ability to process information and analyze and synthesize information and answer the questions correctly. And you'll start to panic and maybe dwell too long on one question, etc. So get plenty of rest. I also advocate tip number 9. Hopefully you all can see this. But nobody's telling me that you can't see my screen, so I'm sorry for that. So let me back up a little bit. The tips in one of the slides that you have 10 different tips covering a wide range of activities. What I was referring to is tip number 8 that you can now see. Sorry about that. And I was moving into number 9. Also, something I've found helps with test exam anxiety is to do a so-called brain dump at the beginning of your exam. What I mean by that is to write down on the whiteboard that you're provided, and you used to be able to take have a pencil and paper in these exams, but they stop that in favor of a whiteboard that they collect at the end of the exam, so you don't walk out with any notes or whatever. But so you'll get this. You can at least write some key points down, and the whole purpose of this is mainly to relieve test anxiety, I think. It also might help you during the exam to refer to some mnemonics. Let's say you keep track of some major tasks, or maybe you've got some inputs and outputs that were giving you trouble as you're studying. Whatever are the key things that you want to commit to memory, jot them down. The other thing I think that might help you is at the start of your exam, right on top of the exam, I will pass this exam. I ran across a study a while back of school children where they had a control group that did that at the start of a test and another group that didn't. And the group that wrote down that simple kind of phrase got significantly higher test scores than the group that didn't. So they tried to control them for equal abilities and whatnot. So it's one study, mind, it doesn't prove anything, but it just confirms my thought that it's helpful to do that at the start. Another thing that is not on this list so much is that you have probably plenty of time, that you don't have to answer every question the first time through. In fact, I guess maybe number 10 does show that. Do not dwell on any one question too long. If you're finding it difficult, move to the next one. That's perfect. That's a good strategy. I sort of stumbled on that myself. Nobody told me about that, but I just kind of figured, oh man, this is tough. I'm going to move on. And you have time to go back through a second time, maybe even a third time to cover those questions that were difficult. I remember one student of mine a couple years back in a CBAP prep class who said she spent 20 minutes on the first question, and it just really threw her off. As she turned out not to pass the exam, which is why she took a class from us to try to bone up and get better, and she passed the second time. But the idea here is to not dwell on any one question too long. So those are some quick tips, Robin, off the top of my head for helping you pass. Cindy's asking, are there any tips that you can provide someone who's new to the field? Well, yeah, first of all, if you're new to the field, IIBA has created the ECBA certificate. It's not even a certification, it's a certificate. So what they want to do with that is understand this thing called the BA Body of Knowledge that IIBA has produced. It's now on to version 3. And this is generally accepted knowledge and practices in the business analysis profession. And they want you to know that well enough to be able to pass a 50-question multiple choice exam. And you don't have to have any experience, but they want that kind of a basic level of knowledge about business analysis so that you can demonstrate to an employer or to your current employer that you have this. But I think it also just helps you immerse you into the tasks, techniques, and competencies of business analysis, which I think is well embodied in the BABOK. So I think one of the first things you want to do is join IIBA, and then you can get a free PDF copy of the BA Body Knowledge, or the BABOK for short, and then you can start kind of glossing through. It's not the easiest thing to read, but it is something to be familiar with. And like I said, even the ECBA exam is based on that. All the other exams, except for the AAC exam, which is the Agile Analyst certification, is based on the BABOK. There is an extension to the BABOK that the AAC exam is based on. So I think, Cindy, also depending where, can you shoot me in a question? Where are you at? What part of the world? Remind me again. You might have said so at the beginning. I forgot. Is there a chapter near you? Northern Illinois. So are you close to the Chicagoland area where they have monthly meetings? Because that's another great way for someone new to the field to get 60 miles. Well, I don't know where else there might be another chapter in Illinois. Is there one central Illinois maybe? I'm not totally sure. But if that's not feasible, then I think there are other ways to connect. Some chapters allow you to attend virtually, and then you can attend meetings that way. But maybe you don't go to every month or whatever, you go occasionally. But that's a way to meet people, learn about the profession, network, find somebody who might even be willing to mentor you. That's a hard thing to just step in and ask someone to do, but you'd be surprised how many people might be willing to say yes. And certainly at the monthly meetings are different topics of interest to business analysts. IIBA also has periodic webinars, and they're starting some podcasts as well that would be something to do. Some of those topics may be a little bit deep, but that's a good way to get started, I think. The cost for membership is, last time I checked, was $95 for a year. And if you're going to be taking any of the exams, they then give you a discount on the exam by being an IIBA member. That may be an old amount. There may be a different price structure. If anybody knows, please write in with what the exact amount is. So those are some just thoughts at the top of my head about getting started with the profession, and there may be some other things you could read. Visiting sites like Modern Analyst and BA Times are the two primary ones that we contribute articles to that seem to be the main ones. Again, it's modernanalyst.com and batimes.com are places that have that. There's no, as far as, is there a membership cost for Watermark Learning? No, there is not. It's a free membership, and we have periodic blogs that come out. We have longer articles that you could access. You have copies of past webinars that you could view, as well as templates that you could download to kind of, you could use them on the job. I was struggling for what I was going to say as far as learning about that might be a little hard, but those templates are valuable things for people to use and make use of. So I'm curious, for the people that are on the call, I'm going to launch a poll. Let's see here if I can figure out how to open it. There we go. Where are you, or what IIBA certifications are you interested in? So I'm going to launch that poll now. I'm just curious of the people present today, which of the certifications are you interested in? Okay. Let's say most of you have voted, so I'm going to share that poll. Most of you on the call here are CBAP interest, and then 20% ECBA. And not everybody voted, but okay, there you have it. So that's good to know. With that in mind, I have another poll, and I'm going to ask you, how far along are you in your certification process? We know one person is going to take the exam next week, and of course we wish you all the best next week. Your exam will be soon. So please let us know here where you're at in terms of the progression that you see in the poll. Here again, okay, I'm going to close that, share the poll. 40% just looking into it, 20% in process of applying, 20% studying, and 20% exam soon. So all over the board as usual in these. So for those of you that are applying, have you run into any roadblocks yet in terms of the application process? Just curious if you've, oops, there we go, stay here. We have some information on our website that will help you with the application, including a handy dandy worksheet to help you organize your project hours. So if you're interested in the CBAP or CCBA, then you need to account for your hours. There's another, if I jump up here, there we go. There is a slide that contains the number of hours and other information needed to apply. So 3,750 hours for the CCBA and 7,500 hours for the CBAP in the last 7 or 10 years. Plus, some of those hours have to be in certain knowledge areas. The spreadsheet, that's not really shown here, but I have some different links on the website here that you get in the slide to go check it out. If you haven't got that worksheet yet, I strongly encourage you to get that. You don't need that, by the way, for the ECBA or the AAC, but for the others you will. And that'll help organize your project hours to know, are you close to the CBAP, or are you better off, say, applying for the CCBA because you're not going to be at the CBAP number for a while. If you're very close, usually within a year, what I would encourage people to do is to wait and then apply for the CBAP when you have the number of hours. But if you're 2 or 3 years away, I think it's worth getting this CCBA, and then when you hit the 7,500 hours, apply for the CBAP. So check out the resources on our website to look for the worksheet in particular, plus some other general information about the different certifications. If you're studying hard, then you would be needing to absorb the BABAC. And to do that, there are a number of ways to do that. We don't have a poll here, but I'm just curious in how many people are engaged in a study group versus how are you doing it on your own? Are you thinking of taking a class, or maybe you've taken a class? Just kind of shoot me in any comments to the chat with where you're at in terms of your approach to studying. If you are studying hard, what or if your exam is next week, I'm curious too for that individual who said her exam is next week. So would you share with us what's your approach for studying? And we can talk about that for a little bit. So Marissa is saying, I'm studying on my own and looking to take a class. That's a pretty common approach. First, Watermark has a great class, and we helps people get the knowledge and the structure to help you understand the BABAC. Plus, the class comes with a lot of additional resources. The CBAP study guide, which I would say is the best-selling guide, but I don't know that for a fact. It sells pretty well. It's helped a lot of people. Plus the online study exam, which is an exam 3-in-1 package for practice warm-up exams, drills, and simulation exams, 3-in-1. You get 90 days worth of practice with that tool. So Robin is saying, on my own, used all your study materials. Thank you. Probably, maybe even more than I just mentioned. Took a lot of practice with 5 days of free tests. Yeah, if you buy the study exam on its own, you get 5 days of sample trial to use with the study exam. And some people just use that. That's all they need. Others appreciate the 90 days worth of practice. Ken is asking, what's the difference between the anytime learning and virtual class? The anytime learning is essentially a static recording of a past virtual class. The virtual class are live events where you can ask questions. It's on a fixed schedule. We share the recordings with you, but it's on a schedule. And so the two have a lot of similarities. What we found is people who couldn't attend the virtual class for one reason or another due to scheduling, or maybe it was time zone, whatever, they found going through the recordings and getting all the other resources was a valuable thing. So it wasn't something we ever planned. It was sort of a organic creation, if you will, where people pretty much asked us to use these. So we developed this concept we called anytime learning from that, because then you can do it anytime on your schedule. And you still get all the other benefits of the virtual class, except the live interaction. Now we do let you then ask questions of an instructor by email. It's not quite the same thing. And so the product is discounted a little bit for that reason. So you do lack that, but then if you're studying on your own, you don't have anyone to ask anyway. So at least the anytime learning gives you that email contact with an instructor in case you get stuck or you have trouble. So both have been very popular, and the anytime learning has been Watermark's strongest growing product line of all. So we find there is lots of interest in it, so people deal with that okay. It's not e-learning. We looked at and have looked at developing e-learning for years, and always shied away from it because of many factors, including the static nature of e-learning and the lack of engagement, for want of a better word. We have a great quote on our site someplace that the student found himself talking to the screen and found our Anytime Learning more engaging than a live class that he previously attended. And that was pretty unsolicited. We we didn't prompt him to say that. He felt that strongly, and so we are very proud of that. And not everybody necessarily feels that way, but that's kind of the difference. And so e-learning is maybe even more sleep inducing. I know the e-learning I've gone through in the past has been that way. So Ken, hopefully that answers the question. Again, in both cases, you get the same materials, the study guide, the online study exams, and other ancillary materials, plus a manual that lets you follow along as the lectures are taking place. But one last thing too, with the Anytime Learning, you get to hear other people's questions. And I think that's oftentimes valuable. Some of the concerns, some of the difficulties people are having studying or relating it to their real world experience. So let me segue into that for just a second, because when I was teaching, every single class, this subject came up, that people would say, but we don't do it that way at our company, or we would never use this technique, ever. Well, somebody uses it somewhere in the world, and IIBA felt that it was used enough to warrant it going into the BABAC. And because a task or a technique or an input or a guideline or whatever is in the BABAC, it's potentially testable. And so you need to be aware of that and just put your real world experience aside for a second and look at the common denominator, and I wouldn't say lowest common, I would say common denominator of the BABAC for what to focus on. Cindy's asking, how much do the exams cost? They start well, for CBAP, $99 up to $159 for 30, 60, or 90 days use of the tool. The CCBA and ECBA and AAC are slightly less. They go down in price from there, but the CBAP has the most questions, the most extensive material, including case study questions, which give you lots of good practice like the real exam does, and so those are priced a little higher. So hopefully they're affordable. The classes cost upwards of $2,000, although frequently there's an early bird discount for that. And I know other vendors charge over $2,000 for a class. So your self-study approach is certainly more economical. And it's up to you whether you think that's going to be suitable for you in your situation. Because going back to my question about how do you study, because not everybody necessarily benefits from a class. Not everybody is able to study on their own. Some people do better with a study group, others with a class. Maybe you just have one study partner. It's really related to your learning profile. And all of our classes, we use a concept called the Insights Learning Styles Framework as a real rough approximation of study styles. So, you know, self-paced learners. Self-paced learners are blue styles. People who just want to get the job done and focus on the outcomes are more red learners. People who like to interact with others and be more spontaneous are yellow, and people who like to interact but in a reflective way and maybe spread out the learning are more green styles. So the red, yellow, blue, green are meant to be markers for general study patterns. So it's good to look into your own study style and then map your approach accordingly. So if you're like the blue person who can read books and study on their own and absorb information by visual means, looking at the text and diagrams and whatever, then maybe a self-study is really the way to go. And if you're more that interactive person who likes the engagement and really comes alive when you're talking and listening to others, then you probably want a class. So it's really all over the board, and those insights. So look up the Insights Corporation if you're curious about that whole topic. I just saw a little reminder that there's another meeting going to start in about 4 minutes. So we're scheduled to go till 30 minutes after the hour. So we're going to have to wrap it up then. So we just have a couple minutes, but what are your other questions that I can answer for you? What's on your mind in terms of your certification journey, or what have you struggled with in terms of absorbing the BABAC, or anything of that nature? Or if you're just looking into it, 40% of you are just looking into it. So Marissa says, for the AAC, is there anytime learning for this? I couldn't find it on your website. Marissa, let me get back to you on that, because I know we were putting that together. AAC, anytime learning. Because I thought we had it, so let me get back to you on that. I thought it was there. I'm surprised you couldn't find it then. Cindy says, I don't know what I don't know at this point. And, well, yeah, fair point. This has been helpful, and look forward to the resources. And we do invite you every month, if you're still just looking into it, or earlier in your studying, or even late, come back to these chat sessions. We hold them every month. Hopefully it's a good opportunity to probe and listen to other people's questions as well. Ken says, I'd like to sign up for anytime for CBAP and AAC. What would be the cost for 30, 60, and 90? Well, the anytime learning has one fixed price, and that should also be on our website, Ken. So if you go to anytime learning. Now for the 30, 60, and 90 online study exams, each of those has the prices listed. If you go to our products section, you can find out what those are. I'm not sure. Yeah, let's see if I could maybe jump out of here. Let me see here. Let me go to the Watermark website. On the products, for instance, you could go to the products, CBAP preparation products, and then let's say you want the online study exam. So you click on that and you scroll down, and here, our prices are listed here. So I guess I told you the right information, 99 to 159. So if you're looking for AAC, here again, online study exams, boom, the same thing. They start at $49 for 30 days and $79 up to 90 days. So you can find out what those are. For anytime learning, go to online learning and then click on anytime learning, and the courses are here. So here it is. We do have AAC. So I guess I'm glad I pursued this. So here it is, 90 days cost $725 for the AAC prep class. And for CBAP, the 90-day version is $1,450 versus our retail of $1,800 some for the live class. So I'm going to have to put the call to an end right now, the webinar, because it's 30 minutes after we're going to get kicked off with another meeting coming into it. So I want to thank you guys for your interest, and we'll follow up with some information, and look forward to seeing you again next month at another chat. And definitely all the best wishes on getting your certification. So thank you guys for attending. Bye-bye.